Hey guys, it's Mark here from MCRCWA. Today we're going to talk scrutineering. So we just had a great track day, but we're going to take my belly pan off my bike, head across to our scrutineering shed, and go through the process of what it's like to scrutineer on a race day. So the reason we need to take the belly pan off is so the scrutineers can quickly get access to look at all the lock wire and drain bolts and just make sure everything is clean and secure underneath the bike. So I got quite lucky today. I've got a great pit crew with Robin here. He's going to help me out by grabbing my belly pan and the rear stand to get that up to scrutineering. So we're at Wanneroo Raceway today, and I'm going to take you up to the normal scrutineering location for a race day. You have to push your bike up to this location, and that's to make sure that there's nothing hot for exhaust or otherwise for the scrutineers to get burnt on when they do the inspection on your bike. This is also the same location. You'll have to bring all of your gear, so helmet, gloves, leathers, boots, etc., to have them checked prior to going on circuit.
Okay, so I'm the Chief Scrutineer for the MCRCWA, and I'll be taking you through the process I use to check the bikes for safety. The first thing we check is the controls. So the clutch that's freely moving, no kind of sand or anything grinding in there that would cause issues. Make sure that the brakes are functioning and there's pressure there. Check that the throttle returns, and check that the bar ends are either blocked off or rounded. They can't be an open end on there. The next thing I will do is check the movement in the front suspension. Make sure that the handlebars don't move, the clip-ons aren't moving, and then also check the radiator cap in here. You can actually see it on this particular bike better from the side to make sure that that is lock wired. With the radiator, it must be either running water or a non-glycol based coolant. That's so that if it spills on the track, it's not slippery and we don't have any accidents. Okay, so the next thing that I'll check is look in between the discs, make sure that there's plenty of pad left on the brakes. Also check to make sure that they're in properly. We have had cases of them not being mounted correctly and causing accidents. And then checking on either side for the lock wire on the brake caliper bolts. Okay, so the next thing that I'll check is moving along is the oil filler. Make sure that that's lock wired, the radiator drain bolt, and on this particular bike, the dipstick. And then while we're here, the engine covers, they are a requirement to be able to race. And then just moving on, make sure that the rear brake is functional. Sometimes you can't get a full feel for that, so spin the wheel, make sure it's stopping. And just make sure there's nothing else loose on the bike. When we come around this side we'll check make sure there's a shark fin or chain guard on here. This is to make sure that any part of you isn't going to get trapped in between the chain and the sprocket. Just make sure when you're fitting that nothing can get between the chain and the sprocket. It is possible to fit them in a way that doesn't actually function. Moving on from there, just again making sure there's nothing loose, checking everything else. Again, engine cover. Down here, make sure the sump is lock wired, and the oil filter is also lock wired, so you can see that there. So another important thing, I mean, obviously on this one you can see it's quite neat and tidy. There's no any old oil on there. It makes it a lot easier from a scrutineering perspective if the bike is clean. If it's not, we need to check over it a bit more thoroughly. So the last thing is the belly pan. This needs to have two 25mm holes drilled in it that are closed off by blind grommets. These can be taken out during wet races so that water doesn't slosh around within the belly pan, and it needs to be able to hold 3 litres of oil. There are different specifications for different bikes, but that's the general rule.